Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you may be in the cosmos is the existence. I'm your host, Rocken Larry Locken with Pleiadian Talk. Today we've got a very special guest all the way from the land down under, Anastasia Kompos. Anastasia, she has a page called Blue Beyond. She's a multi-dimensional ancient earth master, a first wave trailblazer, and she's got all kinds of information to share with us about energies, her soul, advice, guidance through the divine. And I'm going to go ahead and quit rambling like I do and bring her on. Anastasia Compost, all the way from the land down under, up and over. How are you, girl?
Hi, Larry. I'm good. Hi, everyone that's listening in. I'm really good, darling.
That's good, hon. What would you like to start off with? I just want you to go ahead and go into your flow and talk about maybe, I don't know, talk about you and what you do and, things of that nature. And again, I'm going to quit rambling and let you hit it, girl, because people have heard me enough. They want to hear the lovely Anastasia from Australia.
Thank you. I'm sure they want to hear both of us. Um, yeah, I was very led by Spirit and the Divine to come on air and talk because it's time. Um, I've been writing the Blue Beyond and processing through my soul as a trailblazer, which I give to humanity in my post, which um, is my life, basically. And then it's reached a point where humanity, the energies have changed and people's energies have changed. And I was guided recently that I have to step things up now, that I need to do um, this radio with you and the Pleiadian Express Productions, which I'm really grateful for. And also I'm in the process of starting to work on publishing an ebook. It's to reach more of humanity because this is reaching humanity and this is about humanity's ascension. And so I'm really happy to be here in this first new exciting broadcast because it's our energy. It's the energy of the divine coming through, and it's time. It's time. So it's good to be here. Um, and is there anything else you want to add to that, Larry?
Well, no, I agree totally. I mean, timing is everything, even though,
Mm,
the timing here in 3D as we grow on this path definitely is essential. I was reading some of the notes that I had made, and um, one thing that I wanted you to kind of go into at some point in the show was touch a little bit on, some of your lessons you learned through past lives. Whether it was, from the ancients, whether it was, Pleiadian or Lemurian, Atlantean roots, things of that nature. There are many past lives I understand, but what kind of lessons have you learned, and what kind of lessons have came to you in this lifetime that you feel that you gained from other lifetimes? You know what I mean?
wow, that's a really big question, and
Yeah.
that's okay. It is a very broad. It's a big question, and I'm getting as you talk, I get things because I come from two souls. I have a human soul. And last year, and I've written about this, last year I was given my spiritual soul. So I'm actually getting double the information, Larry. Um, and
Is that does that ever cause some confusion, that
it,
scenario?
it took me about 3 months to adjust, which is actually pretty quick because after 20 years of working on myself consciously, with my emotions to learn so many things about myself from spirit, on all the things I say about myself are from the divine, from spirit, and from others being told over and over. They're not self-proclaimed ego labels I give myself. And that's why I'm confident from unconditional love, truth, and honesty in sharing what I do about myself. So let me start with that one, because that one comes up time and time again and has come up recently more so that it's taken a long time for me to grow into my power, my empowerment, self-empowerment, which is of the divine. Okay, to get a clear and direct link with Creator, with God, which I do have a direct link. My vessel is kept clear at all times, and it's taken a while. And in regards to the question that you asked, there's some main things that come is that it's very different integrating in the human being we are now, the information that we're given and what we've gone through. It's linking our spiritual soul to our human soul in having the human experience that we are. That is one of the biggest areas for all of humanity. It takes time, and it's a connection and a reconnection, and it's something that I've already done myself, and I'm still learning and growing. I don't know it all, but I do know what I know, and people have thrown quite often, you know, you say you're this, you say you're an ascended earth master and you're from Lyran and Pleiadian and Arcturian and this, that, and all these self-labels, the ego, and it's part of my role as a first wave trailblazer, and an ancient ascended earth master, and I'm still ascending with the universe, is part of my role is to put those so-called labels, because that's what in the human people can understand and recognize. And the purpose for that, Larry, was it's taken me a long time to grow into my power, into myself, and by putting those there, it's triggering where others are reacting and where they're yet to grow. So it has a purpose for me putting those things to trigger the ancient, the word ancient, and it'll trigger something in someone, to trigger off in them for them to come home and find themselves.
Big time. Excuse me. When I first heard the word Pleiadian that night on the radio all those years ago, it triggered me. And you're right. It's one thing when somebody like you is doing it versus somebody just throwing those labels out there. That is your role, is to trigger people and to,
Yeah.
you know, be a guide, you know, like that. And so what do you think the lessons are, that the purpose of the lessons that we learn through these past lives? I mean, what do you think the purpose of learning these lessons is?
Can I say generally to grow and ascend? Can you be a bit more specific? It's to grow and ascend.
Right. Yeah.
It's
That's
to
a
come
good
back to
one.
our divinity. It's to come back to God's source. It's, you know, we chose to have this human experience, which is one of the toughest challenges that we've chosen to take, because it's really an acceleration of our ascension. And if we didn't, it would have taken longer, and we would have done it much harder. So it is tough being a human being and doing, especially the forerunners, trailblazers, way showers, way seers. It's really tough. You know, yeah.
It is tough. I wanted to also ask you about why it came to mind.
Hang on, did that answer what you wanted or not quite? Because I
Yes, it
sort of
did.
started and then I digressed a bit and then the energy shifted. So
It's
did you
okay.
want to ask me that one again or not?
No, hon, no, that's fine, because I think the next question I'm going to ask you may tie into that a little bit. What I was going to ask you was, it's something I've been really fascinated with lately.
Yeah.
8D energy. I know this is another broad question, but can you talk a little bit about 8D energy and how that does integrate down into fifth and fourth and third and whatever and so forth?
Sorry, you faded a bit. You faded a bit then,
Did I
Larry.
say, okay, I was asking, yeah, I was just going to ask you about the 8D energy, because it's something I'm really interested in. I feel like I've been, you know, channeling it a little bit lately, the 8-dimensional energy. What is your perspective on 8D energy?
You know, when I was told by Spirit that my spiritual soul is an 8D energy, again, that was a message I was given. And so I went, as I do, because all the stuff that I share and say about myself has been not by reading, by experiencing it. It comes naturally through me and I get given it by Spirit, and then I go look it up and read it and go, yep, spot on, that's where I'm at. And so with the 8D energy, same thing. When I first heard about the 8D, I went and I read and I went, yes, that's where I'm at. And then I just go, okay, 8D up there and 5, 6D down here. So that's what that is for me.
Do you feel like as you go up through the dimensions, okay, do you feel like it's, of course it's a lighter energy, but do you think that living and being fully in, say like 8D energy is lighter? Would you think it's like living in a dream state sort of, but yet being more conscious?
That's a really good question.
it's hard to, yeah, I know it's a hard question to answer and ask, but I mean,
Actually, no, that one's easier than all the others.
okay, well, then hit it,
Yeah, no, because I get it, and that's why you're asking. So for you, it's hard, but for me, and I will give you a general overall, is that because remember, one's a soul down here and a soul up top, so I'm getting two lots of info, and it's blending and joining and integrating the two. So I can tell you that it is like another life and another world up there in what I see and what I pick up, but I'm anchored in the human, and I'm linked to the human. So I can differentiate and recognize it is my, I had a saying years ago, my sci-fi is my reality, many years ago, and it's like, yep, because what I see up there, what I pass on, and everything like that is another world, and it is a whole other different whatever, a different life, a different, it's not like television portrays, you know, at all. So it's about anchoring into the human, so you can have that, but then realizing you're here having a human experience and ground yourself and get into the general stuff and not get lost up there, because a lot of souls are lost up, not lost, but they in a way they're up there and they're receiving information and insights, and they're not linking to the human being, and it's a whole different experience in the human being to what is written about. And even and this is no putting down of anybody, no detriment of anyone. Anything I say is always unconditional love and truth and honesty. Is when people write a lot of that stuff, it's like, well, that's got to filter into the human and integrate into the human experience, and that's where my posts come in. After, through my soul, blazing the trail for humanity with the emotions, because it's linking the soul to the spirit through our emotions. I am sort of being like the template for humanity. That's where I then translate the human experience of what all that is into the BB post, Blue Beyond post, and that's what I share. So does that?
yeah, yeah, it does, and I want to touch upon that a little bit. So, you're talking about some of the things that you read like that in the main or whatever. Do you think in the past that people that read that and the people that write it per se, they don't realize that they've got to integrate that down to the 3D level, right? They've got to be able to make it understandable and link it. I mean, otherwise, if you hear some of that stuff, it's gonna just sound like, somebody on a unicorn jumped over the rainbow and dived into the purple sea, or
And
it's
that might be right up there, and that's okay up there. But yeah, and what it is like, again, in much love, it's saying this, that it's great what people share, and it's what they're receiving, what they're channeling or receiving in, and whether it's for them or if it's for them, part of their soul's journey, to then share that with humanity. They're learning to integrate that into the human, and then, because a lot of people live up in the astrals, a lot of people read those things, and when it says you can manifest your abundance now, which we are, where, manifest this and you can have this instantly, and yes, you can, with a balance of bringing it into the human. We will have our ups and our downs. We need the ups and downs to find a balance. But going back to your 8D question, when you shift up into higher levels and realms and dimensions, what it is you become stronger, and you'll be able to handle things better with a more solid foundation, because you're seeing the bigger picture. And when you see the bigger picture, when you're tapping up to 8D or whatever it is up there, when you get a glimpse of the bigger picture, that means everything to coping, really, in a way. It's one of the things for me, when I see the bigger picture, or what I call the bigger picture for humanity, and then my soul has an understanding, then I can carry on, and I have that inner strength. I have that inner strength inside.
Yeah, you keep answering. I'm thinking of questions, right, that are coming up, and you keep answering them in the next sentence. So
That's the future stuff.
it's the
That's
beauty
how.
of it.
That's why I don't do cards or anything like that anymore, because it comes straight from the divine. And then I used to do readings along my way, and then I would finish telling someone, and then we'd put the cards out, and they go, and they just look at me. One guy thought it was a joke. One day he was legitimate. He said, "You hit them," and I went, "No, that's real. I just drew them." And oh gosh, it's funny, isn't it?
It is, I liken it to, in scientific terms, they talk about us only using 50% of our brain, and people hear that and go, well, boy, if we could use more of our brain, we'll be more academically intelligent. But I look at it as like it opening up your consciousness, right? You're talking about functioning in multi dimensions and multi
Yep.
realities at one time, right? But wouldn't you think it means more to what that basically means is if you used 100% of your brain, okay, it means you're completely aware of all the realities that you're functioning in and you see the big picture at once, right? It's like the difference between having tunnel vision and having great peripheral vision. You're just aware of this and you can handle all of what's going on at one time when
Let
you're,
me say something here. I do see what is going on for humanity of the bigger picture when it's the emotions. I actually do see that for humanity. It's taken me a long time to grow into that. It's a very big role to have. We all have big roles. It's a very, for me, I can only say for me, it's a very big role. It's taken me a very long time to grow into that, Larry, to be able to do that, to handle that. And because Ascension, I have a saying, cannot be rushed, filled, or cheated. It takes time. I can't say years and years because I'm a bit older, a bit more old school, whereas it took me 20 years because that was my role as a trailblazer to go through things where it's a lot quicker for people nowadays, but still you can't rush. It's a process. It's all a process and learnings. It's layers and levels. And if you rushed and got it straight away, you would miss out on so much. It takes time. It takes time. No one can cheat that. No one can cheat it.
yeah, no one can cheat time, although it is, like you said, for people that are, the newer they awaken, right, the
Yeah.
quicker it seems to be for them that they're
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yes.
yeah. And I found too that the people that are awakening, the newer people awakening, have less and less of the ascension symptoms, although at the same time they'll still like kind of complain to themselves that it's taken three
Do you know
weeks.
what it is? Can I say something?
Go for it. Yes.
They have a different set of things, issues to deal with in the being recently awakened. They're then, I feel for them too. There is no better, there is no worse, you know. Do something when you're younger or do it when you're older. There's pros and cons in a way to both sides of that. They are then awakened and then they're inundated. What took some of us years, instantly they're swamped. They are swamped with everything all at once, and I feel for them. And a lot of them really, they've woken up to, years ago there wasn't much info around. You know that, Larry. Cryon was around,
Yeah,
and then
but
we'd have to read, and
right.
it
Yeah, it
was
was hard to find. Even
it was
that
hard to find. We had to read, um, and so these people, and so now there's so many people that are still learning to link their soul to their spirit. So they're putting a lot of info that's coming from spirit without integrating into the human because they're yet to learn, and that's part of their journey. And then these people are being inundated with people going, and this is the way, and this is the way, and all that, and they're being swamped. And because people still are needing to clear their vessels, these people are copying all this information left, right, and center, and they don't know who to trust anymore. They're confused, and and we tell
yeah,
them,
exactly.
go with your gut feeling, go with what resonates for you. It's a filtering process.
It's funny you mention that. More and more I'm starting to see people like in the groups that are awakening, right? You can tell they're awakening, they're excited, but they're like, there's just so much information, but all that information is worth looking at, but you also, and I can't hammer this cliche home enough, go within. Everything you have is within you. What does your gut say? And that other stuff is good for a reference point, you know,
Yes.
and exactly, exactly. And I was kind of chuckling as you were saying that because my co-host of Pleiadian Late Night Talk, when she was going through all this a few years ago, Raquel Toombs, and I'd be talking to her on the phone, she did not want to hear about anybody. She didn't want to hear about information from David Icke, from Barbara Marciniak, from whoever, Brian Bashar. She said, no, I've got to do this on my own. And it worked for her to do that. I mean, not everybody can be that stubborn, like in a good way, like Raquel is, but really it is going within, and there's a lot of information out there to use for reference points. It doesn't, you can take what resonates with you out of a message and out of,
Well, it also tells you how powerful and I use that in a light sense of the term that Raquel is to do that. I can relate to that because a lot of the stuff, most of the stuff not all, is it came for me from spirit as well. And I'm glad all that info wasn't around when I was learning, because it really would have confused me too. And it's so I get where she's coming from, and I honor her soul in doing that. Good on her. Um, it's stuff that I've gone through. It's later on, when last year, because I've faced death 11 times this lifetime. And when I was floating the astrals, Jesus came and met me and put his palm to mine, and there was a rainbow energy between us. And that's when I was told, you've been given your spiritual soul and all that sort of stuff. And then I'm like, oh, who else has got two souls? Wow, you type of thing, And so Google, and the only place, and it might be in other books, I don't know, the only place I found was ancient Kabbalah writings that spoke of this to people, that this was given to people when they passed over, yet there was nothing about someone being given it now.
Exactly. So
So
you continued the journey to figure that out. You didn't get
I
hung up.
had to. I'm a seeker of my own soul. I have to. That's me. I've got to get to the depths and the core, right back to source. That's just who I am and what I do. And that's why I'm able to come from unconditional love and guide others. I shine a light on a bridge for them to find their way. I
Yes,
don't do it
it's
for them.
important. I was going to say, but still, it's very important that there are people out there that write about their experiences in books, websites, share their experiences so people can
Good on
find
them.
the resonance. It's about,
Absolutely. It's
but it's,
beautiful. Good on them for doing it. I think it's wonderful. It's good to share. It's good to do that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful that they do that.
yeah, it's great to love Anastasia's message and her writings, but don't just get hung up on her and not her information. You know what I mean? And
I'm a target. I'm a
I
mirror
think people do
of
that.
rainbow divine love, and I get targeted all the time, Larry. And you know what? And I've written a post not long ago. I bless them and I thank them all for helping me to be stronger
Yeah,
within myself, because I know it's of the divine. It's like, don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger.
exactly.
And I've learned to toughen up, but yeah, but they do, and it brings out. The other thing is, with the rapid ascension, waking up, more people waking up recently, is a lot of them are very, very powerful master souls, and because they're still learning to integrate the spirit to the human, there's a lot of power that they don't know how to handle and deal with. It took me a long time. I turned 50 last year. It took me a long time to learn to grow into that. And so then I come along in this beautiful and powerful divine energy. And I will say that from where I'm at, and you know where I'm coming from when I say that. And straight away it flares up with theirs, and they're rah at me, and they're throwing barbs at me, and they're accusing me of this, that, the other, and whew. It's good. I can handle it.
Well, you can, yeah, exactly. You're used to that. But here's one thing I was going to bring up when we were talking about, the messenger and the message. Drunval Melchizedek was saying one time that his one of his big concerns was that people would get hung up on him and not his message, and he,
That's it.
he loves people to love him, but he wants them to hear his message, not get hung up
Yes.
on him. And it's one thing to fend people off that are trying to attack you. Okay, we know, and we're sick of dealing with that. But how do you deal with it when these people are coming at you and they just want you, and they say that they love you and they just want, but they're hung up on you and not your message. And that's an issue I think that people need to be mindful of, us that do shows or write books, things like that. Don't your ego can get swelled pretty big when you've got a bunch of people telling you how great you are, and I really like listening to you. I don't think that's really an issue with people like you and me so much, but
I've had the opposite. I was
right.
not like that. Mine was the opposite. Mine was learning to take on. That's another thing, is learning to take on the praise, to learn to take on the compliments. It's something that I'm still learning, believe it or not, because I'm coming from the divine. I'm just being me, and people say all these things. Yet somewhere in that, we do need to acknowledge that in a balanced, beautiful way to help our self-esteem.
you just hit it
Self-esteem.
Yeah, you
Hmm.
just hit it on the head, I've got to say, because it's a balance. Because if you don't balance, here's what happens. You either get in the mode of you don't feel worthy, and you can't stand to take compliments, or you can shift into the complete ego mode and like, hell yeah, I'm hot shit. But I think it's really key to find the balance
Yeah.
between the two. You know what I mean? Between your, oh, I'm totally great and I totally suck. there's a balance to be stricken there, and I think that's the key to find that.
Yeah,
How the hell do we
absolutely.
find
Pardon?
how the hell do we find that?
Bit by bit, hey. Bit by bit. It's taken me bit by bit. Lucky I'm a Libran too. I love balance. It's taken me a long time to find my balance. And it's just bit by bit. It's a process again, as when you get a compliment, is stop and feel. Take a breath and pause, because people are so go, go, go. They're moving very quickly, and it's slow it down, take a breath, feel the compliment and go, oh, okay, I feel a bit uncomfortable. Someone just said something. Well, how about I just feel that and take that in, and you just allow yourself to start feeling it a little bit. That's all you do each time. That's it.
Because, and I don't
So,
know if you notice this, right? I think that's good advice because you'll get a compliment, right? And you don't really take compliments well, and so you'll like it, but you want to get out of that situation as
oh,
quickly,
you brush it off. You don't take it on. You go, oh, yeah, whatever.
right? Instead of taking that breath and go, okay, yeah, I'm going to take that compliment in and absorb it, and then roll with it, right? Don't get hung up
Yeah,
on it for too long.
no, no, no. Well, if you're legitimate and real that you don't take compliments on, you actually will be unable to do that, because it's so against your nature to take a compliment on. If you do that, that's straight away ego. Then you're not feeling into it. You're going to the head. Okay, there's the difference. The
Exactly.
head and the heart. If you go from the heart and the soul and feel it, you'll only be able to take it in like 1% the first time, or whatever, very small amount. And then when it happens again, stop yourself, okay? And then you'll take it in 2%. And it's a slow building. It's a slow building of 3%, 4%, and it takes time. And it's best when it comes from people that are you're close to, that come from unconditional love, that really mean it. And that is the key. The way that I help build my confidence over the last 10 years is by I'm being very blessed with my spiritual mother, Elaine, and then my spiritual sisters and my close spiritual family, they come from utter unconditional love, truth, and honesty like I do. And they've helped me and I've helped them by loving each other, warts and all. That's very important, to own all your bits as well.
Yeah, to know that we're all a part of each other. I mean, in no judgment. You know what I mean? Your issues are my issues are your issues. And these are all problems that each individual one of us could have. But somewhere along the line, these are all issues that are all ours together as a collective. You know what I mean? So if you sit there and, oh, those people over there, or, fuck those people over there, they're not like me. They're this way, or they're that way. Well, not really. They're you. You're them. Any issues that you have with them are probably issues that you're trying to sort out and deal with from inside of you, if that makes sense. That sounded kind of rambly, but
No, you're not. You're absolutely right. You've gone up. I felt you drift up into the astrals to come from that, from your higher self, and that felt beautiful, Larry. That was spot on.
well, thank you,
Okay?
thank you. I'm gonna take in that compliment. Okay,
Yeah.
I took it
Yes.
in.
If you took it in, your mouth wouldn't have said, I took it in. That's the head.
No, and you hit on something too. Like your answer was
I know you
perfect.
felt it. I know you felt it. I'm teasing you.
I know. And the thing is, when you were saying like, that's so against our nature to do, to keep that compliment going in our mind forever and build an ego. If you're truly somebody who doesn't take compliments well, that's just not going to happen. You can work on taking it in for a bit, and then it'll naturally go. You don't have to worry about it just lingering in your mind and getting hung up on it. 'Cause
Exactly.
we have a hard enough time as it is accepting it in the first damn place.
Yeah. And then you just move on. If it lingers, it's the head. But
Mhm.
then you could be working on it as well. That could be filtering as well. It depends, Larry. You could be filtering it as well. It could be in the head, because the head's not a bad thing. Not that there's bad or good, but the head is not always a negative thing. We need the mind. We need the head to process and whatever, as long as we're guided by our
Balance.
emotions. Our emotions are the rudder that
Again, it's balance.
steers.
Again, it's balance.
Always. It's always balance.
Always. I was sitting here thinking, okay, and I'm thinking of balance, and what another cliche word, but really it is about balance because you've got your
Yeah.
heart and your mind. I call using heart logic. Use the two of them together. Run it through your heart, up through your brain, and then back through your heart again. Balance. And people all balance these cliches, but no, it's true. Go within and balance. I'm going to hammer those two cliches home in the future going forward because it's even if people think it sounds stupid, it for humanity. Balance and going with and using, from everything without a you, that's fine to use as a reference point and advice and something you resonate with, but Don't get hung up on it. If you resonate with all of it, fine. But if there's some of it you don't resonate with, don't force yourself to get in resonance with it because there might be 1 point out of 10 you disagree with. That's fine. You can disagree with it. But whatever if it resonates with you, fine. Don't force yourself to go, well, they're right on all this other stuff, or I feel like they resonate on all this other stuff. So I'm just going to agree with that. You know what I mean? Just in every now moment you're in, use no judgment, but keep your bullshit detector on high. That's the way I like to look at it.
Well,
That.
yes, there's another aspect of that, is that if you read something and something doesn't resonate, there was a post, an example is there was a post recently that someone wrote all this beautiful information, yet there was elements weaved through it that I could feel his vessel wasn't clear. So it was flow, 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 kick in the guts, flow, 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 kick in the guts. And I read the comments afterwards, and people were picking up on this, going, I'm a bit confused, I'm not sure. So I chose, as I'm led sometimes, to add on different posts, shed some light, and just offer. And and I just went through and excuse me, I felt into my souls, and it was exactly that. And I just wrote and said, this vessel, this is beautiful, this writing is really good, it resonated, but there were some elements that were not clear and just came from unconditional love. And then people wrote, thank you, thank you. So when something doesn't resonate in your gut as not a truth for you, just acknowledge it for that. That felt like a blow in the guts, because when it's of the divine and it's from a clear vessel, the energy is this, Larry, it flows, it's beautiful, you feel encouragement, you're lifted in your soul, and it's peaceful. That's when it's of the divine. If you read something that starts off like that and then you feel it like a punch, that's not resonating. Whether it's yours or theirs, it just depends, doesn't it? So you can either then just move on and just go, okay, that one doesn't resonate with me, and keep reading the rest. Or if you choose, you can then go into it. What is that? You can go in deeper. What is it that doesn't resonate with me? And then you go in deeper and read it. Well, I don't agree with that. I don't resonate with that. No, that's his opinion, and this is what I get.
Well, right, if you do it from that perspective, but if you start down that rabbit hole, though, and you're of the mindset of letting it really, really bother you and letting it really, really bug you and upset you, then that can be counterproductive too. You've got to keep a clear and open mind with every step you go through it, and every question you ask yourself, because otherwise, you can get pissed off, and you see some of these posts.
But then it's but then it's stopping and looking, what are you pissed off at? I get what you're saying, but I'm going to say, but then look, what are you pissed off at?
That's the question right there, because a lot of people can't get frustrated. If you were to ask that question, Anastasia, a lot of people get frustrated in their mind because they don't know, and then their inner self knows that they've got to do some looking.
Digging. That's right. And
right, and we get lazy like that sometimes as humans, and so it's just easier to get defensive sometimes and stay in that.
That's fine, but see how long that'll last. See how good that does for you, because what's happening now is people are able to tolerate them less and less now. They're going to need to do that, darling. That is the way to the freedom of the soul, is to actually do that. And that's okay. They'll get there. They're going through and they're experiencing what they need to for their soul's journey.
Are you finding more and more, Anastasia, if you have somebody question something or whatever, and you offer and you give them an answer, are you finding that people are becoming more accepting with the way that with the way that you put things? People are less combative if you put it a certain way. I mean, give them another thought or another perspective on what they're mad about or what they're upset about, or have them look at.
Are you asking me personally?
Yeah,
or
yeah,
generally?
Generally, actually, I'm asking kind of in general, yes. Or from your perspective too.
Well, I'm going to blend the two. I just need a moment to process, because remember, I'm processing from two spaces, so sometimes I've got to take a pause to process from both souls. Those times are a process to lead to where one learns, or where I've learnt, when I have cleared my vessel, I don't come from negative ego. where I come from unconditional love and I see the bigger picture of what's going on for a soul. This is me, and I'll lead this into others. I can see where they're at. I can feel where they're at and what's going on for them. So when I offer stuff, I just table. I always say, and I even teach my son, picture a coffee table in front of you. When you want to let somebody know something, put it on the table. It then takes the personal energy out of it, and it's just tabling. They will either resonate or not. No harm, no foul. If they don't, they don't. Much love and light, bless you, and they don't get offended or anything because your personal energy is not in it. So when you table, it makes it a neutral zone. So that sort of answers what people can do. Is picture that coffee table. It makes it a neutral zone, and it works really, really well. That each person that I've shared it with go, oh, it's such a good idea. And then, you know, and then and it's beautiful. That is a really good way to do it.
I think so too. And I just think that people, though, no matter where they're at in their growth path, they are becoming more receptive to energies like yours, or just any kind of positive energy, giving them feedback. They're given, you know,
That's right. I rarely have reactions. Rarely, rarely, rarely now. The ones that do lately are really powerful souls that I'm mirroring. This is me personally, stuff back to them. But the rest of humanity are beautiful for me, and they get it, they feel it. It's not in, it's the energy, it's the way it's written. It's the love comes through, the love, the unconditional love, truth, and honesty. But you know, at the same time, Larry, it actually for a lot of people, they're not feeling that.
no, I know.
And you know why? You do know why. It's because a lot of people have not had the personal experience of having had or felt unconditional love. This
Yes.
surprised me. This surprised me last year when I realised they don't really fully understand true unconditional love. And that's okay because it took me a while to learn it too. I
Right.
get it.
But in the position you're at now, didn't that also help you to realize when you got that to realize, hey, it's it's not me. It's nothing I would say or do. It's something that they're going through because they've never felt unconditional love, or maybe
Correct.
never been in tune with, reached out to spirit and been in tune with spirit. And so you realize that it's not you. Not that you thought it was you, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Keep going. Yep, yep,
Yeah, because we've all been drawn in years past before, and like in post adminning for groups,
yep.
you get into a bickering match with somebody, but now you can just step back and say, I understand where they're at. You
Yeah,
know,
if you can, it takes a bit of years and wisdom to be able to do that though. The younger ones mightn't be able to do that as much. They're learning still. And then
yeah,
I think, and I'm using general, and I'm not saying to quote me, and I'm not sticking hard and fast to this. I'm just generally speaking, loosely speaking with this, that that comes sort of in more human years on this planet, is that it's a wisdom. It takes human years to earn that.
it's kind of a simple human or 3D wisdom that
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's keep this basic. This is a very light, loose thing I'm saying. And that's just common sense. You know,
is.
that's just basically, you know, yeah,
But also, I just feel too that as a collective, I mean, the
yeah.
younger ones are having a maybe issue with it, but I think more and more they're not going to. Newer souls coming in, that they get it right away. Which to switch gears a little bit, Anastasia. You want to talk a little bit about what's going on with your book right now? Is that something you want to share, or is that?
I can share briefly that I've been so blessed to have met a beautiful soul, sister soul that's been waiting for a long time to find the right soul to be a platform and help support and do the graphics and artwork for someone that to reach all of humanity because the time had to be right. To help humanity's ascension. And I've been waiting for a very long time. I knew a very long time ago I was going to write books, and I've had visions and shown on stages and all that sort of stuff. And then others have told me as well. It's just come over and over. And so it took a lot for me to let all that go because I had to wait a very long time. So patience, patience, and then more patience is something that one learns when they grow and ascend. That is one of the biggest lessons, and I had no patience. And so finally I met her recently, and our energies are connecting, and that has just been established, and she's offered that to me and I've accepted, and that was only in the last couple of weeks. So that's wonderful. So something will be coming. and it's in the pipeline right now. It's very exciting. I've been waiting a very, very long time, and those that know me know I've been waiting for a very long time for this time. So yes, something will be coming.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you too. I don't know if you experienced this, but when I look at writing a book, because I've had a couple ideas too, the first thing on my mind that gets me hung up is I'm thinking about, okay, I've got to sit down and I've got to compose this. Then I'd have to find so.
Okay, stop right. Can I stop you right there?
Yeah, exactly. So what I was going to ask, one question.
Yeah, sorry.
Anybody that writes a book, right? When you're writing a book, don't you feel like no matter what book it is, really, it's coming through consciousness, most of it, when you write a book. You know what I mean? It's coming through consciousness to do it, because there's so much minutia involved with just sitting down and writing 100 pages. And where do you put this? Where do you put that? How do you?
Well, that's why I was going to stop you, darling, because straight away, and you know I'm coming from love, is when someone sits down and says what you said, that is the head instantly. And that's what I did. I went through a very long time of, okay, I've got to sit down, I've got to write this and all these things, and I was blocking myself until I learnt. And I was saying, I want to be able to write where I have fun. It just comes easily and flows easily. And it took me 1 to 2 years of saying that to myself, to clear myself, to let it flow through my spirit to my soul. And it came effortlessly and easily, and I had fun and I loved it. And I wrote a 17 months of a diary of what I was going through about 4 years ago. And it was fun, and that's how I did it, because it's the head, it's stopping the head and just trusting, handing over, praying and asking, and you'll feel it in your soul. You'll feel it when it's time, and it can flow, and it'll be of the divine. Anything else is pressure and forcing from the head. I did it. If I can share that to save people doing that, if they're going through what to write, whatever, and it will just flow, it'll just come, hand it over, pray and ask, and be guided.
So, would you advise somebody who was, planning to write a book and they were stressed out about, gosh, when am I going to do it? When am I going to do it?
That was me.
Yeah, would you advise them going through that? Would you advise them to maybe focus on understanding that it's a timing thing, and when the timing is right, it will happen? Just keep doing what you need to do and what you're.
Exactly. Keep focusing on tuning into you, feeling your emotions from the inner out, day by day, moment by moment, just going with the flow. And it will be part of when you're clear and it's time, because it's all about time. Look at what the universe brought me with this beautiful lady. And she's a top graphic designer. They brought me the top. They didn't just, give me.
Exactly. And you would never thought she came out of nowhere probably in your life. You know what I mean, right?
Well, she apparently has been following the Blue Beyond for a very long time. And I didn't know that, and she's been just feeling into it. So, and I wasn't ready. The other biggest thing, Larry, is I wasn't ready. In my head, I wanted to be ready. In my head, I felt ready, because I'm go, 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 go. But my soul, I actually really wasn't ready. And I get it now. Now that I've met her, I'm glad. I'm glad I waited. I'm glad that, it had to be the right time for me to be ready.
You're glad you just didn't forge forward and go, God damn it.
I couldn't have done it. I get blocked. When I'm not meant to do something, a wall is put up and the energy's blocked. End of story. I can't push through if I try. And I know that one now, so I don't push.
I think of the word acceptance comes to mind.
Yeah, good one. Yep.
That acceptance with that. Yeah, it's just
okay.
Wow. I was just sitting with that for a second. Exactly. Things come into your life for a reason, out of nowhere, and it's nothing that you foresee. You know what I mean? It's just, it comes completely out of left field when something comes into your life that helps you to achieve your goal. You know what I mean?
Well, you've got to grow and you've got to earn it, is what it is. You've got to earn it. Ascension cannot be rushed, fooled, or cheated. You need to earn to get to that point. You got to earn it.
Yeah, it's not earning a degree. It's not taking a seminar.
No.
It's not sitting there doing telekinesis for 18 hours a day.
Oh, if they want to do that, they can too.
Right. They can. And you know what the thing is? If they're guided to do that and they're into doing that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I was listening one time to the guy that wrote Chariots of the Gods, a book I love, Eric von Däniken, and he says that after he writes, he'll look back at some of his stuff and go, wow, it was conscious. He goes, God, did I write that? How could I have written that?
And that's how I do my posts. I am just so led and then I sit back and go, well, what did I write? It's beautiful when it just flows. It's beautiful. It's effortless. It's easy. So if it's hard, if the head kicks in, if you're frustrated, this, that, pull up, stop, throw all that out the door, out the window, regroup, hand it over, take a breath, and just focus on you, because when it comes and it's meant to, it'll be part of you. So really, until you focus on you, that will that will help for it to happen quicker in a way. Because if we focus on the book, that's outside of us, and all the pressure in the head stuff, picture is the ball outside of us. If we then bring our energy within, it will be part of our soul's journey, and it will just flow beautifully, darling.
And the funny thing is, I don't know if you've experienced this. Sometimes, right? Just have you ever just out of the blue, at weird time, just got the urge to just start writing? You know, like, oh God, I've got this great idea, and it's just the weirdest time to do it. But then your consciousness just leads you to go do it. You know what I mean? And you weren't even necessarily thinking about doing it until right in that.
That's it. That's it. Beautiful. Go with that. Yes, I've been writing in diaries for a very, very long time, 20 odd years. Just writing and writing and writing whatever came and flowed, and yeah, absolutely. And it's wonderful to do that. Yep.
Or what about this? Just to add to that, have you ever, been in those frustrating moments, took a breath, calmed down, and then like sat down wherever you were going to write with nothing in your mind, and took a deep breath, and then it just all of a sudden flowed out of you? Have you ever had anything like that happen to you?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time. For me, it's not even a conscious thing of doing that. I'm just led. I just know. But I'll take myself back to when I first started doing that. Yes, it's a definite feeling where I sit down and I want to write. Yes, you can feel it in your hands. You want to write. Yes.
It's not like you say to yourself, okay, I've got Saturday free. I've got this time block on Saturday.
Not when you're going with the flow. Not when you're going with the flow of the divine and spirit and with your soul's journey. I don't operate like that. To me, it's as it comes. You just have the book there. When you're going with the flow, I don't make appointments. The only ones I make for soul connections for people to do Skype, beautiful chats and healings with, or if I've got a really important 3D world appointment. Everything else, I go with the flow.
Yeah, you don't sit there and say to yourself, okay, I've got this time set aside.
No, doesn't work like that for me. No.
No, that's kind of a crapshoot if somebody plans.
Yeah, I know. Yes. I got it. Sorry. Bit
slow
on the uptake there, honey.
Thursday comes and I've got these 2 hours set aside, and then during those 2 hours,
I'm going to channel.
Yeah.
Oh, I could go further with that one. I'm going to leave that one alone.
Oh, are you sure? You sure you don't want to go down that rabbit hole?
Been there, done that. Hey, listen, can I bring up something that was something somebody asked me recently, which was a really good question?
You can bring up
anything. Oh, thank you, darling. And it came 3 times about how does someone tap into the astrals? How does someone, because I often quite write what I see.
Let's go. Yes, I want to know that.
Well, I had to stop for a minute because it's natural to me now that I see both. I see up there all the time. I actually had to stop for a moment and go, okay, so what it is if you picture a ball above you, which is, say, your spiritual soul, and then you feel like a ball below, which is your human soul. And then what it is letting your awareness drift up slowly like a wave up above your head. And as you do that, you allow images to be revealed and seen as they are, like you're watching them appear. Now, the biggest thing is the head, the good old head. I know I did in the past, and that's why everything I share is because of what I've been through in the past, is the head then tried to kick in and put pictures. I tried to form pictures of what I might just see a Buddha. Or maybe I'm meant to see this.
Oh my God, Anastasia, I got to stop you for a second there. You're starting to answer. You're starting to answer. Right now, you're starting to answer the question I had in my head. So continue forward. I just had to say that. This is okay. Go ahead.
Well, and that's how it works. And then also then I went through a time of where I'd seen so many. I love all different movies, supernatural movies, this that. And so then I got in. I got into my head that you're meant to see it like that, and it really, really, it interrupts the flow because we're like an antenna. It's like a radio antenna picking up, and I was clogging it. And so it took me, especially one that come from the head as much as I did, being ex-military and going through abuse in there, I had to have masks and everything to cope and cover up. So I'm a master of wearing masks. Now I'm just my authentic self. I don't need to. And so that's why I see it so easily in others. And so the good old head can get in the way, and it's learning to free that, to let that go. The images can get distorted, and you've got expectations. So, because we want to see what we feel we need to see. So then, if we just go back into that wave, recognize that you've done that, then go back and see this wave coming up from your waist up, your chest rising like a wave, like water rising, and just focus on the water rising. And as you do that, you will see things will appear, and you'll see what's there to be revealed. And when you do, you will feel it and know it. You will know. You cannot feel that feeling if you created it with your mind. It is a knowing and such a deep feeling. And then it's having the guts to share with someone some of the weird stuff you saw.
Yeah, the military is really good for training your brain to think that way. No, that made me think. Look, you were in the military a long time, okay, and they have a very, of course, not to slam them, but a very yes sir, no sir, black and white way of thinking. That is, as long as you were in there, I think really it's amazing, and I think a lot of souls would have trouble in even getting back into 3D real world because they're used to such a black and white, no shades of gray kind of a mentality because that's how they've had to operate. That's how their MOs had to be. And was that hard for you coming out of the military to get out of kind of that mentality you had to operate in?
Understatement. I got out in 96. So that was a while ago. 20 years ago. Yes, it takes at least 12 months. It's a transition of going back to what we call civvy life, civilian life, because your identity and everything. I remember looking in the mirror with my uniform on going, I was such and such. Who am I now? Completely lost. I rebelled. I went in because we weren't allowed to colour our hair, dark nail polish, no jewelry, just standard earrings, one ring, this, that. And I went in outrageous blue nails, colourful clothes, coloured my hair. I just went wild afterwards, just freedom, freedom, freedom. But remember, spirituality and awareness and everything wasn't as open back then. So it was different times 20 years ago.
There was nothing for me to reference to tell you to explain to you what you were feeling. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely not. It was survival. It was. I call it my other life because I've lived 3 lifetimes in this lifetime. I'm not the only one. Others have too. And it was my other life, and it was such a valuable part of my growth in this lifetime because this is my last lifetime here too.
You mentioned. Yeah, you mentioned looking in the mirror with your uniform on. It's when you said that I felt you in that moment. I felt the emotion you must
horrible.
Just kind of like, wow. Was that a turning point or a transition a little bit in your mind, that looking in the mirror, or was it a gateway to
something happened? Now that you're saying it, I'm having a flashback and I'm seeing it was a moment that I didn't realize was a moment, a spiritual moment of it was like that. Thanks. There you go. Thank you for that. It was a very surreal flash of I had no identity. I was just like an invisible being at that point when I did that.
So you rebelled. That's kind of funny, your story about rebelling. So because it was so strict with their dress policy and jewelry and all that, you just said to hell with it. I'm just going to go wild and
Well, while I was in, I was very regimented. I played the game. I was highly spit polished shoes, highly starched uniform. I was commended for. I was very by the book. I was too much for them to handle. They didn't know how to handle someone. I was doing a job 3 ranks higher, which was unheard of. They didn't know how to handle me. I didn't know how to handle myself.
This all doesn't surprise me, by the way, just on a side note. Hearing this doesn't surprise me about you.
Really? Well, I didn't know I was a trailblazer back then. I did a few firsts for females. I don't want to keep going over them. I've written them before, and I don't want to keep saying I was the first one to do this. But I was. And they created a new rule in Parliament in Australia for women in the forces from one of the things I did. And, so I didn't realise back then I was a trailblazer.
Well, that's a pretty important thing, though. I mean, that's not something that you want to touch on because this is the platform for it. And I mean, really.
All right.
Not just, so don't think of it as your you know, you're just saying this. Think about this. You're helping people by saying this, okay?
All right, darling. Thank you for that. It's because I've written it so many times, but to read something, and that's the purpose of me coming on to for people to hear who I am, that I stand by what I write. That is my life and soul essence going on the paper. Yet a lot of people don't quite get it, and they need to hear. And that's, you know, one of the whole purposes of doing this. So thank you for pointing that out. Yes, it was a time where women, we would march on Anzac Day, which is Australian New Zealand Army Corps, which is when they landed at Gallipoli together. And it's a march to honour all the people that have fallen in the wars that we do once a year in Australia, for those that are not aware of that. And in the military, you get asked who wants to volunteer to do Anzac Day, where we learn, we practice, we join in a big street parade. And women had never marched with a rifle before. So here I am, rocked on up, and there was no other women there. I didn't care. To me, I was one of the boys. I really got in touch with my boy, what I call my boy side, my boy bits when I was in the military. I was one of the boys. Yet I kept my femininity always. And there was an officer there, and we lined up. He didn't like it. I had breasts, and they stood out. He didn't like it. He said, oh, and he said I couldn't do it. Now, that year was the first time women did something else, fly some sort of plane. They did something, and I apologise for not knowing. I read it the other day. That was the year in '87 where women did a first for women in flying or something big like that. So that was already in place. So when he told me that, I went back to work, and there was a female officer there, and she said, oh, and I told her what happened. I said, oh, yeah, I went down, blah, blah, blah. And she looked at me, and she said, what? She said, you get back down there at practice tomorrow and you go tell him that you are going to do it, and that if he has an issue with that, he can come and speak to me. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? You know, I was a bit naive. No idea. So I just rocked on up the next day. I didn't have to say anything to him. He was spoken to. Lined up this, that, the other. Went into one of the cities, and all these people were taking photos of me, and all the guys were going, are they your family? I said, I have no idea who they are. And here's me just, okay, let's have all these photos. And then I was advised by that lady that I was the first female in Australia, and she thought there was maybe one other in the army somewhere in Australia, but definitely the first in the state I'm in of Queensland and Australia to march on Anzac Day with a rifle. And I'm like, wow. And she said she wanted to do a big article and write up on me. Didn't eventuate. And then not long after that, we have shrines of remembrance in Australia in different cities. It's the Eternal Flame. And it's called a guard of honour, where you have people in the military, they lift the rifles up and they twist it round and they do a bit of a guard of honour. No woman or female had ever done that either. So I also did that. I was the first female in Brisbane to do the first guard of honour at the Shrine of Remembrance. And I actually have photos that a friend took, and I'm glad, because I wore men's pants, a man's tie, because there was no female uniform for that yet.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, that's really something to be proud of and groundbreaking. It's amazing when you step back and look, though, too, how far we get hard on ourselves as a, you know, planet and collective, but we really have come a long way in some issues, you know, and it seems like we're going further in a shorter amount of time. It's just that wasn't really that
Yes.
long ago. When
No, it
you
wasn't.
no, I mean, in you know, in 3D terms, oh God, 1987, but that was a long, that wasn't that long ago, really. You know what I mean?
No, it wasn't. The other wonderful one, because you did say to share, was
Yeah.
when I went through, I'm going to talk sketchily for a reason, when I went through and got a payment or pension that I did, I was knocked back at first because I was a female and I was a certain age. And I went back and said, where in the rule book does it say? And they turned it over and they granted it to me. And then I got a call from Canberra, our head city here, that said, well, I'm such and such, I'm calling from the Department of Canberra. I'm just letting you know, I need to let you know that we are putting in a new rule in Parliament for you for receiving that. You were the first female to have done that, and we need to let you know. Got off the phone and my mouth just dropped. So that was pretty special. And then since then, other females, it made it easier for them.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back and rack my brain. Not that it matters for, you know, when that might have happened in the United States, but I'm sure that we have long since probably had that.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story to share. That's really, Yeah, I'm
Thank
just
you.
thinking about it and how you must have felt and the emotions of it
Oh, I suffered.
and
I
going
had
through
many
carrying your own.
breakdowns in afterwards. I really suffered. I hit some very low points. It really, it killed me inside. I was dying inside. Hence having the head and the business head and the ego and the mask of being controlling and in control and dominant and very overpowering. Why do you think I can handle those that are overpowering? It was because I've done it and I did it to the nth degree in the military. So I did it and then some.
Right, so the lesson is right. We can look at that, all those experiences and go, maybe that was hell to go through, but all this stuff has really made
So
you
worth it. It has made me and it has helped me to be where I am now. Absolutely. And I'm so grateful for it. It was bittersweet times.
right. But it couldn't have been any other way. I mean, I was
No, it couldn't have. If I wanted to finish off in this last lifetime as I am, it needed to be this lifetime.
well, I was curious too on a side note, you were probably a strong personality, and aside from that male
Yes.
officer telling you, that day, were you a part, did you get any hazing done to you or any, taunts or any from, other maybe male personnel in the military or people outside?
You had to touch on that. Yes, I did because I didn't realize how. And one of the guys pulled me aside one day, and and he said to me, "Do you realize you're a threat to male egos?" I was shocked. I had no idea, Larry. I had no idea how strong my personality and nature was. And I'm blessed that I'm able to share with my son who's like that to teach him how to deal with it from what I went through because I had no one to guide me. I had no one. I had no idea, and it threatened their egos. They'd gang up on me. Yes, I don't want to go into too much more what happened because I don't know if I'm allowed to.
Well, right, exactly. I just want to say it's kind of ironic how a black and white thinking organization helped a black and white thinking person have a completely open consciousness.
Well, that's what someone wrote once when I share photos sometimes of when I did that Guard of Honor. They go, "I can't believe you were that, and now look at you." I go, "Yeah, I know." You were regimented. You were this, that, or gung ho. I go, "Yeah, I know I was. Look at me now. I'm a peace loving hippie freak." No, I'm not. I love peace. I love freedom. Yeah, yeah. Interesting. Good one.
I wanted to get back for a second to you talk about being from two souls. People throw in the term walk-in all the time. I only know out of the 10,000 people I've talked to, I only know one person I would consider a walk-in, and this is a person who hates cliches more than anything.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier my host Raquel on their show. I really feel, and she does too. She hates the term and doesn't like it, to think that she is, but realizes she is. And you're talking about two souls. Do you think, okay, what would be the difference between being a walk-in versus having two different souls guide you? I mean, I know that's kind of vague, but have you ever considered the fact that maybe you walk in, or has that ever pondered into your mind that maybe you're
Never.
walk-in?
Never.
Okay. Yeah, I don't get that either. I don't get that either at all. And like I said, I've only actually got it with one person I've ever talked to. So that's how rare of it is for that I've encountered. But I just keep thinking that's unique, the two souls. It's like, huh, I'm gonna have to sit with that one, or else I'll just ramble.
Go for it, because a lot of people. Someone said to me, "Must be amazing." I said, I can't explain what it's like. I can only tell you in human terms, and that will never cover it. Not really. That what it is to have two TV screens,
Yeah,
basically. Two
it
TV
is.
screens in front of you.
It is, and it's totally something that if you're not open to thinking about this, you can get because here I'll play a 3D male ego. Oh yeah, that chick's just got a split personality. you know, but it's not
Yeah.
like that. It's not like that because you're fully conscious of both.
The two are joined together. That's the secret. People
Right.
can question. I just chuckle because I stand by. I don't share anything I'm not 1,000% sure of that's from the divine. I process and filter and clear. So whatever I share, I always stand by. So I'm really fine with someone saying that because after I've had disbelievers, I've people say, "You're not an ascended master. You need to get down on your knees and bow down to the ascended masters." And I said, "Absolutely." And I talk with them and deal with them all the time. I'm right there with you. However, I am an ancient ascended earth master here and now. And that is one of the biggest ones people find it hard to handle. And that's okay. Because the ones that do get it, and it's mainly through talking to me. Reading sometimes for a lot of people it's enough, they feel it. Others, this guy once was talking and then he apologized profusely, said, "I am so sorry. He said, it wasn't until I was to talk to you, because they'll see I mean what I say, unconditional love, truth, and honesty.
You have to get to a certain point where you can feel it in the writing, because I remember arguing with somebody on
Yes, you're
Facebook, and then
right.
then when I talked to them, right, then when we talked voice to voice, we actually were
Yep.
agreeing on the same shit, and there was no, and I'm like, this would have never even came up if we wouldn't have been, it hadn't been just corresponding over, over words. But have you considered the fact that maybe you are your own twin soul you're your own twin soul? You may be your own twin flame inside of you, your own twin
No,
soul.
I actually met my twin flame September last year.
Okay, maybe you're your own twin soul then. There you go.
No, I don't feel, well, yeah, maybe we'll make a new term and call myself my own twin soul. I don't know. We
Yeah,
can
there you
make that up
go.
if we like. Yeah, you go for it. But no, I met my divine twin flame last year. And I do. My son is a twin soul. I have another friend that's a twin soul. There's many levels, layers of twin souls, of soulmates. It's so broad. But I have met my divine twin flame, and it's like nothing else. I'm no longer by myself trailblazing. I now have his energy with me, and it's amazing. He's on the
Yeah,
other side of the world,
it is amazing.
and that's where we need to be. And that changed me like you wouldn't believe. You can't put into words. I've written posts because it's too much to explain. I've written posts about what it is for a divine twin flame. I will say that it was very rare. It is still rare, but it's becoming more common now.
Yeah.
And Divine did say that David and I, who goes under the name Michael Karen Akita on Facebook, that we will be trailblazers for Divine Twin Flames. I'm like, okay, that's info that I've been given. I'm still sitting with that. That's how it rolls. They give me info. I sit with it. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever, in a good way. And then later on, something happens and then it clicks in a bit more, That's how info comes. It gets given, you sit with it and let it filter into the human. Because the interpretation and the human and experiencing is worlds apart. Knowing and experiencing are worlds apart. That's another one of my sayings I created years ago.
Yeah, and I
It's
think it's
very powerful. There's a lot to that saying. And
there.
people come back and tell me that all the time. It's what you said. Knowing and experiencing are worlds apart. I go, yes, you got it.
That says it all. I mean, that's a beautiful quote. I mean, you know what I mean? And that plays into too, like your writing, because Earth 3D words are just blah blah blah. But it really has to, when you're writing and words a powerful message, it really has to come through your heart, and there has to be meaning put behind it. It's like making a good meal if you put love into it.
That's exactly right. All my energy goes into each one of those posts.
Yeah,
Everything goes into
isn't it
them.
amazing? Isn't it amazing how it works? It really is true.
Mm.
It's not just, oh, put your energy into it and you'll feel it really is. It happens though. It
I
really.
write as I talk. What my spiritual mum Elaine said to me, you write. She said, you're a different kind of writer. There's not many like you. There's a couple of famous ones, and I can't remember who they were. She said, you write as you speak. I said, yeah, I do. That's me speaking. It's not just me channeling and typing. That's my words from my mouth.
All right, or some notes you had or something rehearsed. Exactly.
No, no, that's me as I speak.
Wow.
I'm very real. I'm very real.
Yeah, you really are. And I mean, it's not even about what anybody, it's to the point where it's not really about even what anybody says. It's about the feeling behind the words. It's about that energy that you get when reading something. And
Yeah.
if you can understand that, you can kind of pick up on that same energy that you might get by actually talking to that person, hearing their voice. You can learn to feel that through
Yep.
their words too. And that, like you can probably do both. You'll feel it through the words of somebody else's writing, and plus you're
Of
putting,
course, I feel their soul all the time. I feel people's souls all the time where they're at and everything I read.
and you're putting it into it. You're putting the same thing back into it when you're writing something. You see what I
That's
mean?
right. Yep.
Hey,
I
hey, check it out. I think I know a certain person who had a few questions for you.
Yes.
Mr. Jason Wilson of Pleiadian Rising group on
Beautiful,
Facebook.
Jason.
Good old Jason. Love you, Jason. Done a lot of shows with Jason. Jason is fun to have on air. We love you, brother. And that third question that he asked you, though, that might be the most important, but the first two may take a little more time.
Well, because we need to take a moment because I am getting after these energetically from Spirit Unguided, and you can probably feel it too. We need to start winding it up. Am I right?
Right, right. I was just gonna say right, right, and then I'm gonna take a second too, and I'm gonna take a deep breath and have my for this meeting have my tobacco gods come in and soothe me. And so
You
yes,
you get some soothing while I Jason has asked, reconciling with people we're fallen out with. Is that what he asked?
Yes, that was one of the questions.
That's a very that's a very broad question, but a really good one. And I feel that a lot of that has already been answered in a way, is coming from unconditional love, seeing what's triggered in you. But he's saying reconciling. How do you reconcile? Well, takes two, and it depends if it's a soul contract. Because you might want to reconcile all you like in the human, but if it's not time, you won't be able to. And there's different things you can do with that. You can write a letter and then burn it. You can write to them. So that's very broad and general because it all depends. But it's about communication, unconditional love, and tabling helps. There's some good ways to start.
Well, yeah, and I just wanted to just interject for a second. Yeah, it is a good question. It's very broad. Jason himself is working on a book called Questions by Jason Wilson, 500 Shades of Grey.
500 Shades of Jason. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I was waiting for your wisdom to kick in.
No,
Yeah.
I was too busy laughing.
Okay. So yeah, I think a lot of it you've answered. I mean, time, understanding. I mean, I don't. That is a broad. It's a great question, but a broad question at the same time.
Yeah, if I'm given specific people and specific situations, I can hone in and easily provide my view, my opinion of how to resolve, because I work with a lot with couples in resolving and being a bridge and helping couples to communicate. Children, I deal with, not work, because I love what I do, with so many people from different ages and walks of life, so it all really depends.
Well, I realize that there's so many angles to that, right?
That's right.
But I feel like confidence in you at your level that you could at least, okay, you could give a 50% as good of answer in general, like, okay, somebody has a falling out over, I know there again, it's such a broad thing, but I mean, what in general, like, I mean, the cliches like time, understanding, I mean,
Communication
yeah.
with yourself and with them to see what's really going on, what's really being triggered, what you're not happy with, what doesn't sit with your soul, being honest. And
But
it
both,
takes unconditional love,
but
and
listen,
that's not always there from both sides.
oh God, okay, I should have just shut up because you answered my question. Both sides have to be willing. Both sides have to
Yes,
be willing.
that's right. And
And
depends on the
all,
soul contract too.
yeah, and from my limited perspective of it, all you can do is if the other side isn't receptive to that is, sit with it, let them know maybe in one writing, hey, when the time comes, if you're ever willing to talk, I'm here. You know what I mean?
But
And
but
that's
then the other aspect is then yes, but then there's the other aspect if you want to go deeper, which I needed to, and a lot of people do, is writing out what it is for you that's going on, that's separate from them. It's about them and to do with them, but you write for yourself. You get your angst, your frustration, and you write and purge and purge and purge and come to realizations and see the bigger picture and own your 50%, own what you contributed to that. It's always two ways, it's never just one. There's lessons for both to learn, and then go and burn it and let that go and do what you can, and that goes out to that person on the astrals. You can help by doing that for yourself and them if you meant to. But yeah, definitely, it's. I wouldn't advise to leave it because it's not going to go away. It's going to fester.
I love your advice. It's so outside of the box. I mean, I'm just thinking, write them a quick note, let them know you'll be there for them. You're talking about actually doing some work within yourself
And
and
it's all about working within yourself.
putting that out on the astral plane and putting it out on the
That's
astral.
right. That's
Exactly.
right. Yeah.
And that's beautiful. That answers my question. And
Well, I did that with my 15, nearly 16-year-old teen the other day. He had something going on, didn't want to discuss it, couldn't discuss it with the other person. He wrote it down, he burned it, he let it go. He then went and did some exercise process, and then he was clear to talk to that person, and he resolved it
wow.
by following those guidelines. Yeah, and so he's learning so many lessons now from what and I will say suffer because I have suffered. We've all suffered, and to be able to pass them on to him, but he's a teen and is a very headstrong trailblazer indigo, so good luck with that one for me, hey?
Exactly right. He's surpassing you if he hasn't already. But that's the thing with Earth 3D is we get stuck.
Yeah,
Maybe part of the lesson, don't we get stuck in a box? Look at that. Look at what helped him resolve that, right? It was so simple. Well, kind of, but it was a simple answer to do it, but yet we get stuck in the box and
But the
with
thing is, Larry, I had so many simple, because of all the years of experience of getting through to where I am, the methods that I have will cut to the chase, and I can give people instant, if you do this, and they do it, and it resolves it pretty quickly. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to go through what I went through. That's the beauty of me offering the Skype sessions, to have the one-on-one. We can resolve so much, but it's fun. It's light-hearted. I'm real on me. I joke. It's not a big informal session. It's a divine healing of the divine. And we can do that very smoothly and with love and gentleness, and it's just beautiful.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't be a good host if I didn't ask you to go in to what your Skype sessions. Just kind of give a broad overview if you want, or go in depth of what you offer and how they can contact you and all that information. And I got to say though, before you do that, it's like a lot of times when we talk, I'll start going into something that's on my mind, and you'll say, no, stop right there, I hear you. With you, you really do already know where it's going. So,
Yes.
but so many people will do that, just trying to interrupt people, or it'll be
No.
perceived as being interrupted, right? But like when you're talking to Anastasia out there, people really, if she does that, because she does realize where you're going with this. And if then stop and let her talk. And if she didn't get what you were saying, then reiterate it. But yeah, it's just amazing, and I'd really, really
Thank
like
you.
you to accentuate your Skype, because that's the main, that's the beauty of it. That's one of the great, if not one of the greatest things you can offer. So,
Well, thank you for saying that, because I do, when I start off the Skype, I do let them know, hey, listen, I'm not butting in and being rude. I'm going with the flow of the divine. So when you talk, I get info on your spiritual soul and human soul pretty much straight away. And so instead of you spending an hour telling me something, if you need to purge for an hour, that's different. I'll listen if that's part of your healing process. But then I let them know. I will just jump in and say, hey, listen, I got this, and they go, oh, okay. So I let people know that that's what it is. It's getting straight to it. So then it's quicker for you. You don't need to suffer. It's let's deal with this now. Okay, there it is. That's the insight. Oh, beautiful. Move on. And you get so much in a session that way. You get a life-changing healing.
okay, let's talk about some 3D aspects of it. So, okay, about how long, do you put a time limit on your session?
Never, never. Always guided by the divine and guided by the soul. I'm feeling where that soul is at, and when they've had enough, when they're full, so to speak, when they've needed all they've needed, their soul guides me. I go off them.
So it's really a multi-dimensional process, and
Absolutely.
that's
Yes.
the only thing 3D about it is the time it starts. Maybe other than that, it's flow from there and wherever it needs to go. You know
For
what I mean?
what is, yes, what is that soul needing to heal? What is the uppermost? They will let me know in what they're sharing, what I'm feeling, and I will feel what's going on for them in the astrals. They might be like you'll be thinking something, and I'll go and I'll answer it. You go, I was just thinking it. Yeah, because I just picked up on it.
Right. So, and I suppose this will be a redundant question, but as far as your sessions go, it probably it's based on individual needs, like as far as how many, if they need another one, or
Yep, and they'll know, and I'll know, because a lot of people, we can't force this. A lot of people have wanted to come and see me, and it's not time for their soul. I've wanted to in the human, and I've learned to pull back and recognize it's got to be divine timing. So someone may be ready to go, and it can take up to 1 week, at the most 2 weeks, and they can feel it, and they go, oh, you're right, I wasn't ready, and then away we go. It's all been guided. Uh, it's all just following the flow of the divine.
yeah, or something could even happen like, okay, you're set to do it on a certain day, and then all of a
Yep.
sudden it doesn't happen right, but then the next day you do it, and for some reason it wasn't meant to, they were meant to
And
work.
that's what I also let people know beforehand, is that a very exact thing. This is how I go with the flow. It'll be at the right time. All of that is all covered. All of that is explained. So I'm really letting people know how I roll, going with the flow, and it's just beautiful. It really works well.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and I think some people may be a little bit in awe, taken back, like, okay, wow, you mean you don't have a set time, you don't have
Mm-mm.
it's
No.
completely out of time and really multidimensional. Like I
Well, I'm
said,
a trailblazer. I go with the flow of the divine. I really do live it. I live this. This is not work. This is not something. This is 24/7 for me. this is what I live to do for humanity's ascension. It's part of my role as a trailblazer. And I'm not the only one. There's others, but I'm just where I'm at where I'm at, and I live this. If you sat down, if someone come and sat down with me, this is how I would be. This is how I am all the time. Of course, I don't go to the depths, and I go with where someone's at and where it flows, you know. But this is me, full stop. If they Skype, they're going to get me just as I'm talking to you.
Exactly, exactly. There are others out there, but not many. I was sitting with this earlier today. I'm thinking, okay, of all the people, thousands of people I've talked to, and you all have various talents. There's only about 6 people, and yes, they're all females. There's only about 6 people, and I'm not going to mention them except for one is Anastasia. That in what they do, I would seriously recommend getting their thoughts. You know what I mean? I would recommend if you certain issue to go get some clear wisdom from. And Anastasia is one of those 6. And keep in mind, I've had conversations with probably up to 10,000 people in the last few years, at least briefly. And from what I picked up on, there's only 6 that I would put into that category. And and for various issues that you may be dealing with or whatever, that just whatever, that I would recommend you getting wisdom from. Let me just put it that simple. But your Skype sessions, okay.
Thank you for that, by the way, Larry. Thank you.
We need to really, really accentuate that, because this is not just, I mean, this helps you, but it's really to help humanity, and you're helping.
Exactly.
And the thing, how can people, let's go into this, Anastasia, because I think it is, we're getting time to wrap, it's getting near that time. It's funny, because I was thinking before the show, I was thinking, God, I wonder how long it's going to go, and with you're the one guest that would tell me, well, I'm getting that it's time to wrap it up, because I'm thinking it, and you'll say it a lot of the time when we're talking or something.
Sure do.
So go ahead and let people know. Okay, go ahead and give them any maybe last words of thought you have for them, and then go into how they can contact you, all your contacts, any kind of anywhere on the internet, whatever you have, websites, Facebook pages, where you can be found, how they can get a hold of you for a Skype session, and I'll let you just go with that.
Oh, thank you. I don't have anything. I'm going to put my camera on.
Go for it.
Say hello. It's a little bit blurry, so I'll try not to move too much.
Yeah, by the way, the reason for people out there we don't have use cameras is because it messes with the bandwidth on here. One person is fine to be on cam, but anymore it really messes with our bandwidth. So I had to reiterate that little useless piece of information.
Yeah, and I got led to briefly come on at the end so people could see me as well. So that's why I'm doing this, to say hi, good to see you, it's good for you to see me. And as far as one message, it is generally about humanity's ascension, and it's time to broadcast that, it's time to reach the masses more. You've heard in this session a lot about me, and that was just to give you a background, a bit more about me, and that I stand by everything I said. And if you would like a Skype healing session of the divine, the whole time is a healing, and it even starts before we Skype. Please, you can contact me on Facebook, on the Blue Beyond, or my email address, theoraclespeaks, altogether, @bigpond.com. And what it happens then is that you get all that energy devoted solely to you. I am there for you with both souls, with unconditional love, and it is such a loving, supporting space, warts and all. I have no judgment, where we can have a look at what you're ready to look at, whatever comes up for your soul, led by the divine.
Beautiful. Now, yeah, exactly. Before I have you tell everybody where they can find you on Facebook and all that, I want to just say that, look, I can't emphasize enough to anybody listening to this. It would really, if any of this resonates with you, it would be really in your benefit to contact Anastasia. And I'm not saying this to plug the program. I'm not saying this.
You don't need to. You don't need to. They will feel it. They will either feel it from this. But thank you. Thank you for your words, darling.
People know me out there. They know that I don't, that I don't put up with bullshit. They know that they know my rebel attitude, and I wouldn't just say that. I really, like I said, I put her in a very, very small category.
Thank you.
Emails out of thousands, or people in general that I've talked to. Okay, so really, if any of this resonates with you, it would really you'll be happy you did it. And like she said, the great thing about the whole thing really is you start feeling that energy before you even have the Skype session. It'll happen right away, and you'll
Yes.
start feeling it. And then, boy, when you get on with her, it'll be like, wow, yeah. So let everybody know everywhere and anywhere in the whole cyberspace world where they can find Anastasia Kompos at. Let them know.
Well, basically what I said at the Blue Beyond, which is my Facebook page, my personal page, Anastasia Kompos with a K, Kompos, wonderful Greek name, and email address, theoraclespeaks@bigpond.com. So you get a few ways that you can contact me. And the people that usually come, Larry, are the ones that are ready for the next step on their soul's journey. And quite often it's an ancient healing, and I will quite often do the clock removal that I've shared, remove all negative energies, entities on the astrals, on the human. That comes with it as well. So, yeah.
Exactly, and we'll go ahead. What we'll do is this will be posted to a lot of the Facebook groups and as well as on YouTube and Google. We'll put your contact information on there. We're going to put your email,
Yep.
and we'll put Blue Beyond on there as well. So
Thank you.
remind everybody the links to the show will be below the description of the show. So there it is, and it'll be several dozen places. So with that being said, anything else, kid,
Yes.
or you got it?
You got it. I've got it. We've all got it. It's all
We've all
here.
got
We're
it.
all here. One love, darling. We're all
One
here
love.
together.
So anyway, where you can find yours truly, Rockin' Larry Locken, of course, aka the Looney Lyran. Yes, I'm the secret's out. That is me as well. My other side. You can find me on YouTube and Google Plus on 2 different channels. You can find me on the big one, which we're on right now, Pleiadian Express Productions. You can also find me on the Pleiadian Light Grid Project YouTube and Google page, where I do crazy stuff like comedy, politics, mock shows. I sing. I've got 10 Nashville hits you'll have to really check out. Yeah, you'll be really thrilled. Go, you better listen. It won't be free for long. People will be lining up to buy the CD at Nashville. They've been phoning in and wanting to order. So get out there and listen. You can also find me on Facebook at 2 pages that are by the same name, Pleiadian Express Productions, and then Pleiadian Light Grid Project page. I've got about 20 pages. The best thing I would advise people to do, so I don't rant forever, is go to a page called Pleiadian Groups and Pages. There's also a group by that name, but go to the page. I have both of them. Go to the page, and you can find every single page and group that I'm in, and I'm also in about 50,000 motherfucking Pleiadian and Starseed groups on Facebook, so you can find Larry Locken there. You can also find me at, most importantly, larrylocken.wix at PleiadianExpressPro.com. Okay, and the link, of course, is on our Facebook page, Pleiadian Express Productions. You can find that. Of course, donations are more than welcome. I would really love them because it helps me to do more shows and maybe get some better equipment. And there's a donation button at the bottom. It's real quick. You can donate $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, whatever. And I would encourage people to do that if they like what they hear. And I also wanted to wish everybody out there just much love. And I'm going to leave everybody, as I always do, with a big cosmic dating game kiss. Mwah. Da, 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 da.
Oh, I'm giving one too. Mwah, as well.
Mwah. Bye. We're all waving bye as the credits are going, and we're
Bye.
anyway. Yeah, there we go, and we're out of here, and that's a wrap.